Hello, and welcome to training on our Albemarle County's time and attendance system. The first thing we're going to talk about today is roles and responsibilities within the system. All employees who accrue leave will use the time and attendance system to manage their leave. They'll use it to submit leave requests and then, if need be, to cancel or retract leave requests. If you are a non-exempt employee, you will also use the system to record your time in and out each day. Supervisors will use the system to manage their own time and leave, and they will also manage time and leave for their employees. What that means is that if you are a supervisor, your employees' leave requests come to you, and you will approve or deny them as need be. If you are a supervisor of non-exempt employees, you will also need to work with employees to edit time cards as necessary. Employees are not able to edit their own time cards, so if you miss a punch, then your supervisor will have to correct that for you. In addition to managing time and leave, supervisors also are in charge of approving time cards on a weekly basis, and they manage employee schedules where necessary. The final role to talk about is that of the timekeeper. The timekeeper is the person within each department who has access to all employee time cards so that if bulk edits need to be made, that person can do those. For example, if we were closed for a snow day, the timekeeper would be able to put administrative leave building closure on everybody's time card at once. Other responsibilities of the timekeeper, are to keep track of supervisors' progress in approving time cards each week. They also run reports to pull data from the time and attendance system, and they sign off on time cards once they've been approved on Wednesday afternoon. Timekeepers do not edit time cards for anyone, and they can't manage leave requests. Now let's talk a little bit about system access. The time and attendance system is web-based, which means that any device that has a connection to the internet can be used to record time and submit leave requests. So if you have a tablet or a laptop at home, you can use that if need be. If you're at a public library and you want to use a computer there, you're able to do that as well. You just need to know the URL and log on and sign in with your username and password. There are two different types of web pages. There's a full client version and a quick timestamp. We'll take a look at those in just a minute. Right now, I want to talk about the mobile app. There are directions available online for downloading the mobile app to an iPhone or to an Android device. There are a couple of things that you need to know about the mobile app. First of all, it does have an offline mode, which means that if you are out and about in the farther reaches of Albemarle County and you don't have cell service, you can still record your time as you need to, and then when you get back into cell range, it'll upload that data for you. The other is that if you're going to use the mobile app, you have to enable location services while you're using the app. If you're logging time using the mobile app, it does record your GPS coordinates when you are logging your time. If this weirds you out a little bit, here are a couple things to think about. The first is that it's only recording your GPS coordinates when you are actually logging your time. So it's not really watching you during the course of your day and tracking your movements around the county. The second thing is that when you are installing the app, you can configure it to only use location services when the app is running. And so that way you can use the app, log your time, and then close the app, and you really don't have to worry about it. The third option for logging your time is available for non-exempt employees, and that is a wall-mounted biometric device. There is at least one in each building, and in order to use those, the one thing you need to know about that is that you have to register your finger on that particular device. So it's not registering a fingerprint, it's more like a composite of like 6 different points on your actual finger. And what you'll do is you'll put in your employee ID and then scan your finger, and then you'll be able to log your time. If you want to use the wall-mounted device, you'll need to call the IT help desk and set up an appointment to get yourself registered on that device, and then you'll be able to use it. This slide shows you an example of what the Quick Timestamp webpage looks like. This is for use by non-exempt hourly employees, and the way you use this is you put your username and password in, and then you click on the button that says Record Timestamp, and then it records your time and puts it on your time card so that next time you log in to the full client, you'll be able to see it. This page shows an example of the full client web page for non-exempt employees. In the sort of right-hand side of the page, you can see there is the record timestamp command, and it will record your time when you press it, and then it also displays the last time you punched just up above it. Over on the left-hand side is your time card for the week, which will allow you to see how much time you have logged in the week, if you've missed any punches, if you're in danger of working overtime, and stuff like that. This next page is the full client web page for exempt employees. Exempt employees do not track their time in and out each day, so what they look at on their time card is mostly just to see what leave they have taken, if any. Now we need to talk a little bit about how the system tracks and calculates time. I have several different topics to cover. The first is the rounding rule. This graphic over here on the right is here to help you understand how the system does rounding. So let's say that you're supposed to report to work at 8 a.m. If you log in between 7:53 and 8 o'clock, for the purposes of calculating your time, it's going to round to 8 o'clock. If you log in between 8 o'clock and 8:07 and 59 seconds, it's going to round back to 8 o'clock. So it continues that way around the clock. Every 15 minutes, there's a 7-minute rounding rule on either side. Here's what the non-exempt time card looks like for a 40-hour-a-week employee. It does record your actual time logging in and out. So for example, on Tuesday the 19th, this employee came into work at 7:57 a.m., left for lunch at 11:58 a.m. This person takes an hour lunch, so came back at 1:02, left for the day at 5:05. So it's showing all of those ins and outs to the minute, but if you look over here on the right in the shift and or daily column, it's showing how it took all of those ins and outs and rounded and came up with 8 hours for that day. The other thing I'll just point out, since we're looking at this particular time card, is that this system automatically, if you are eligible for holidays, they are going to show up on your time card for that week, and it gives you the appropriate number of hours for that week, so you don't have to worry about keeping track of holidays. The next topic to talk about is how flexing works with the time and attendance system. So the important thing to know about what the time and attendance system wants is it wants you to work up to whatever your scheduled number of total hours for the week are. The system does not care when you work. It only cares that you get up to whatever total number of hours you're supposed to work that week. Having said that, of course, your supervisor most likely does care when you work. So what I'm talking about here is only what the system needs from you and not what your supervisor and the requirements of your job may be. So in this example, you are a regularly scheduled 40-hour-a-week person. You'd like to leave early on Friday without having to use annual leave because you have a lot of work you need to get done anyway. So you talk to your supervisor and say, hey, I'd really like to leave early Friday. Is it okay if I get my hours in earlier? Your supervisor says that's fine. And so then you proceed to work as indicated here, 9 hours, 8, 10, 10 and a half. So by Friday, all you need are 2.5 hours in order to get up to 40 hours for the week. Now, let's look at what that's going to look like on the actual time card. So as you can see here, this person worked, if you look over in the daily column, 9 hours, 8 hours, 10 and a half. And then on Friday came in at 8 and worked until 10:30 and left for the day. The 40-hour a week had been met by 10:30 on Friday, and that's all the system cares about. Now, those red eyes on there are information alerts, which are showing that you worked outside of your normal schedule, which is over in this schedule column. They are information only, so you don't need to worry about them. You don't have to worry about them, and your supervisor doesn't have to worry about them. They're just saying this is what happened according to the schedule. The next concept to talk about is leave washing, and this has to do with when you take leave during the week, but then you also work, excuse me, outside above your additional hours the rest of the week above your schedule. So in this example, I took 8 hours of annual leave on Monday. I had every intention of only working my regular schedule the rest of the week, but something came up, somebody was out, and I ended up working extra time on Wednesday and Thursday, so that at the end of the week, my total hours were 44 and a half. I'd only physically worked 36 and a half, which means I did not meet the threshold for overtime, which is 40 hours. So if I don't do anything about this, I'm not going to get paid for these 4.5 extra hours. Those are only on there because I'd recorded 8 hours of annual leave. So what I need to do is cancel my original leave request for 8 hours and submit a new request for 3.5 hours, because that 3.5 hours will get me up to 40 for the week. I don't have to burn additional leave hours that I ended up working, and now I'll have 40 total hours recorded for the week. Now we need to talk about shortfall. Shortfall is a set of rules that kick in if you do not work up to your schedule and you do not submit a leave request to cover the remaining time. The system will pull time from your leave buckets in the following order. First, it'll take annual leave. If you don't have any annual leave, it'll go and look for comp time if you have any available. And if you don't have either of those, then it will give you leave without pay. This is what shortfall would look like on your time card. As you can see from this example, this person worked a regular schedule up until Thursday. By the end of the day, Thursday had 32 hours and 15 minutes, and then didn't show up at all on Friday, didn't call anybody, let anybody know that I was sick or anything like that. And so at the end of the day, Friday, at the end of the work week, the system looks at this time card, realizes that this person is short, and takes 7 hours and 45 minutes of annual leave in order to get up to 40 hours a week. Now, if this happens to you, but in fact what actually happened was that you woke up on Friday morning and you were sick, or you had a family member who was sick, or something happened on your way to work, then you do have the ability to submit a retroactive sick leave request, or call your supervisor, let him or her know that you're not going to be there, and then if need be, he or she could submit a sick leave request on your behalf. So shortfall is there to get people up to their total hours for the week, but we don't really anticipate a lot of people needing to use that very often. The next concept to talk about is cascading. And cascading is similar to shortfall, but it has to do with submitting leave requests where you don't have enough leave of a particular type to cover the request. The cascade rules will kick in that situation, and they'll pull time from other leave buckets to cover the request before going to leave without pay. Now, the type of leave used and the order in which it's taken from other buckets varies depending on what was requested originally. So one of the handouts that you'll want to look for on our documentation center is the cascading rules for your employee group, either exempt or non-exempt, so that you can make sure you understand what are the consequences if I submit an annual leave request but I don't have enough time to cover it, what's going to happen. Because managing your leave is your responsibility, and so you need to know things like that. The county's leave philosophy is that if you have paid leave, you should use that before you go to a leave without pay situation. This slide shows you an example of a leave request that cascaded. So this week, this person was out all week and he or she was sick. You can see on Monday, it takes 8 hours of sick. On Tuesday, it takes another 8 hours of sick. On Wednesday, it takes the last 4.5 hours of sick. And then it goes to annual leave in lieu of sick. And it takes 3.5 hours to get up to 8 for that day. And then it continues like that. The cascading rules are written like this. They're very clear about what it is taking in lieu of the other thing. Now we need to talk about exception alerts. We've actually already looked at one of these, which is the early, late, ins, and outs. And those kick in when you log time that is early or late according to your schedule. There's also an alert for long breaks, and that is when if you go out for lunch or you go out for a doctor's appointment and you're gone for more than 90 minutes and you don't have something filling that time, the next time you log in, it is going to put another one of those red eyes. Both the long break and the early, late, ins and outs are informational only. The one that you will need to fix is the missed punch. So missed punches are going to show up in two different ways. The first is the red block. On this example here on Monday the 7th, this person forgot to log out at the end of the day. And so the system tells you that because it puts that big red block there where it was expecting to see a punch. That's something your supervisor would have to fix. So you would just send an email or a text or whatever to your supervisor to say, hey, I forgot to log out on Monday. This is what time I left. Now, the other kind of missed punch is a little trickier, but it is this example on Wednesday the 9th. This person came in at 7:55, left at 12:02, and then apparently either left for the day or forgot to log back in and back out. So the system has no way of knowing what's happening. What it does is it puts a little red eye over here to say, hey, this person left way outside of their normal schedule. And then over on the right-hand side in the daily column, it shows you that it only logged 4 hours for that day, and it only logged 4 hours for Monday. So when you're checking on missed punches, it's good habit to look at the time card itself to see if you have any red blocks or red eyes, but also keep an eye on this daily column so that you have a good sense for how much time are you accumulating over the course of the week. Last topic to discuss is time card approvals. On Monday, you come in and you review and approve your time card from the previous work week. The important thing to remember about time card approvals is that you should not approve your time card until any changes or revisions that you need made have been done by your supervisor. So let's say, for example, you had a really bad week last week and you ended up working a couple of hours of overtime, and you would prefer to have that as comp time. So this is something you and your supervisor had already discussed, and then your supervisor has to do the comp time conversion for you. If your supervisor doesn't do the comp time conversion, you will just automatically be paid for the time. So if you come in Monday and you see your supervisor hasn't had time to do that yet, do not approve your time card. Just remind your supervisor about doing the comp time conversion, and then once that's done, you can go in and approve it. Temporary employees also need to approve time cards if they are available to do so. On Tuesday or Wednesday morning, the supervisor will approve employee time cards for the previous work week. The system only requires supervisor approval, so if you are on leave or you are not working for whatever reason, then the supervisor will be able to go in and review and approve your time card in your absence. Time card approval for exempt employees, what you'll be looking for is if you took any leave, did it get recorded properly? And then you'll want to look at the totals area to make sure your pay period is in there correctly with regular time, any leave used, if you had any additional payments such as recognition pay, and then you will actually approve. Non-exempt employees, because you're logging all of your time as well as your leave, you have a lot more things that you need to look for. All the information on this slide is available in the Documentation Center as a checklist for you. You'll want to check, of course, for all your in and out punches. And if you took leave, did that get recorded properly? If you took leave and then you ended up working additional hours, you'll have to go through that whole leave washing piece where you cancel your original request and submit a new one with the correct number of hours. If you needed comp time conversion, has that been done? And then the last thing to do is look at the totals area at the bottom to make sure everything totals out correctly. Your regular time, overtime if you had it, leave if you had it, any additional things such as on-call shift or callback pay. So you'll have to check all that stuff. Now, the actual time card approval process is pretty easy. It's getting your time card to the point where it's ready to be approved, where the work comes in. So what you'll do is you'll log into the full client version, and then you want to make sure you're looking at the previous schedule period. So in the upper right corner, you will click on the little drop down area of this context selector and select either previous schedule period or last week, whichever makes sense to you. And then once you've double checked all the things down here and made sure everything looks good, you click on the Approve Time Card command here, and then you get a little drop down menu and you click on Approve Time Card there. And that's all you have to do. You'll notice that the background of your time card turns a sort of light creamy yellow, and that is what lets you know, okay, your time is approved and you're all done for last week. Now, if when your supervisor approves, if you've already approved it, then the background will turn green to show that both the employee and the supervisor have approved. If for some reason you're away on vacation or whatever and you're not available to approve, then when your supervisor approves, it will turn yellow, because really yellow is just showing that one person has approved it. Now, if you have questions about if your supervisor has approved, he or she's busy in meetings all day and you're not sure what's going on, you can open up and look at the background color. If you've approved and you look at it and it's green, you'll know that it's all done. There's also an audits tool that you'll be able to use, and that is an additional link over on the right-hand side of the full client version. You'll go in, you'll select from the category, you'll select My Sign-Offs and Approvals, and then you'll look for, under Action Taken, Time Card Approval by Manager. Just so you know, within Kronos, it calls all supervisors managers. And then you'll see a list of all the different time card approvals and when they happened. We're just about done here. Just the last couple of things. One is to know that all of the documentation for the time and attendance system is available online. We have a guide to the time and attendance system for new employees, and it kind of breaks out all the pieces of information that you need. The IT help desk is available. The phone number is 296-5895, or if you are dialing from within the network, you can just call 5985. You can also create a help desk ticket, and all those processes are detailed for you in the Documentation Center. Thank you so much, and if you have any questions, please let the help desk know so that we can help you out.